Orchard Road would seem to be a strange starting point when it comes to talking about worthwhile investments. Let's be honest, people come here to spend money, not make it. Singapore's shopping centres have just about everything anyone could want to buy, particularly in the area of branded designer goods, and those include perfumes.
The perfume industry is a multi-billion-dollar one, with designers constantly needing to update their portfolio and increase their range to cater to an ever-expanding market. How expanding? According to a new report by the highly regarded Global Industry Analysts Inc., a US-based world leader in business intelligence and strategy support, the global fragrances and perfumes market is expected to exceed $33 billion by the year 2015. Why am I telling you all this? All will be revealed soon.
Fashion leads the way when it comes to clothes, and we only have to pick up a glossy magazine to be told what we should be wearing and how we should be wearing it. The perfume industry is similar, with Tom Ford and Christian Dior at the cutting edge right now. Ford's Oud Wood perfume and Dior's Oud Leather and Fahrenheit, despite being quite expensive, move off the shelves faster than they can be made.
And yet I can almost guarantee that very few of us know where it comes from or how it's made. Despite the fact that Tom Ford's and Dior's products are hugely popular and state-of-the-art in the world of perfume at this moment in time, it may interest you to know that certain elements of the fragrances themselves are thousands of years old. There's a story here, but in order to tell it, we have to go slightly further afield. Here we are in Thailand, just a couple of hours north of the capital city, Bangkok, and I'm surrounded by trees. Nothing hugely surprising there, perhaps, except when I tell you that these are very special trees.
In fact, they're lucky to even be here at all. They're Aquilaria trees, and due to massive illegal logging in recent years, they're actually cited by the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna as being on the endangered list. Some species are even on the verge of extinction. Why? Because they're incredibly valuable. Not so much for the trees themselves, but for what they produce. When infected with a certain bacterium, the trees produce a dark, aromatic resin. The unaffected tree is quite light in colour, but the resin dramatically increases the density and mass of the tree and even gets it to change colour.
And there you have it. That is the wood, and that is the glorious resin. It's Agarwood, or oud to give it its Arabic name. And what happens when this stuff, the wood and the resin, are distilled? That's when truly something remarkable happens. More of that in a moment.
The problem now is that while 2 or 3 species of Aquilaria or Agarwood trees used to grow from the states of eastern India, through Bangladesh, down through Myanmar, Thailand, Indochina, and along the Malay Peninsula to Borneo and even Papua New Guinea, they don't anymore. They're endangered.
From the outside, it's impossible to tell whether or not the tree has been affected with the bacterium. And in fact, naturally, only about 7 out of every 100 are.
Unfortunately, illegal loggers are not the most patient people on Earth, so they simply cut down everything. It's no surprise then that they are endangered, and clearly it's high time that someone does something about it.
And that's exactly what Asia Plantation Capital, or APC, is setting out to do. APC is reintroducing the Aquilaria tree in its natural habitat, planting it here, for example, in Thailand, but constantly looking out for other areas in Asia where the conditions are right and the trees will flourish.
In some countries, Sri Lanka as a prime example, the species had been wiped out completely. Thanks to APC though, it has now been reintroduced. APC is doing its bit for local communities as well, because this is now an industry that they can get involved in. It provides employment, income, and the satisfaction of cultivating something valuable in a sustainable way. It also provides a major boost for local economies, and APC has a company policy of training local people to carry out all its operations, from manual labourers up to professionally qualified executives.
These trees, grown from saplings on a plantation such as this one, means that the wild growth trees don't need to be harvested for their resin, and that means that the species may well be saved from extinction. Of course, there is a big question. Bearing in mind that only about 7% of Agarwood trees produce the resin naturally, how can we make sure that we don't have to use more trees than we need?
This is where science gets involved, as the trees get inoculated to make sure that they produce the goods. Using only organic compounds, the inoculation simply replicates what happens to 7% of the Agarwood trees in nature. And it's what causes the trees to develop the wonderful resinous heartwood you saw earlier. The pioneering work has been undertaken at Kasetsart University, Thailand's leading agricultural and medical research facility, while in the United States, the University of Minnesota's Plant Science Department is developing a similar program.
Thailand is the best place to plant agar tree. The problem is they cannot produce the oil by themselves. We have found the best method to stimulate them to produce the oil, and we found that our oil is like nature.
Sometimes even nature needs a helping hand, and this process makes sure that the Agarwood trees are grown, nurtured and cultivated as reliably as any other plantation stock. And that means there is no longer any need to destroy what few forests still exist. That's what happens to the trees when they're growing, but how can we make sure that they grow in the first place? Bearing in mind the fact that human beings have done so much to threaten the Agarwood population worldwide, it seems only right and proper that we should now do something to make amends.
And that all starts here at the Thai Orchid Laboratories just outside Bangkok. This state-of-the-art facility is where tissue cultures are grown, taken from the few trees that remain in the wild before being put back into their natural habitat so that they can do what comes naturally.
Trees and plants grown from seed are unpredictable, whereas with a tissue culture taken from a piece of the plant itself, you almost invariably know exactly what you're going to get.
These are the tissue cultures, this is where they grow, and this is what they turn into.
Okay, now it's time for the best bit, what this wood and resin can become when treated in the right way.
First there's chopping, then grinding, and then soaking. And the final step, distillation. And out of that comes an extraordinary substance called agarwood, or as it's traditionally known, oud.
Some people call it liquid gold and what it comes from as the wood of gods, and it's not surprising. Top quality agarwood oil, or oud, has been quoted at $50,000 a litre. So what I'm holding is probably worth about $2,500. I should try not to drop it.
And the thing is, they've been doing this for years, thousands of years in fact. Oud has been used in the Middle East fragrance world since the beginning of civilization, and today plays a major part in the religious culture of the Islamic world. Legend in the East has it that when Adam left the Garden of Eden, the only thing he was allowed to take with him was an agarwood cutting, and there are even mentions of it throughout the Sanskrit Vedas, one of the world's oldest written texts.
I'd also like to tell you about the other uses to which this extraordinary substance and these extraordinary trees can be put. The pharmaceutical world uses it as a treatment for skin diseases, as well as for asthma, bronchitis and rheumatism.
Professor Konkatip, who you met earlier, is also involved in groundbreaking anti-cancer research, while in aromatherapy, its essential oil can be used to treat depression, anxiety, and is used for meditation and relaxation.
And perhaps I should also mention that it's considered to be the most powerful aphrodisiac among all the essential oils. Or perhaps I shouldn't. What I can tell you though is that the wood is used to make incense and incense sticks, an integral part of the culture in both the Buddhist and Islamic world.
And so our story is almost complete, and it's a story of renewability, sustainability, and social responsibility, with science and nature working hand in hand. An endangered species is being saved, and communities are benefiting. It's also about the production of something that everyone wants, and is, naturally enough, in increasingly high demand.
By the way, when Prince William and Kate Middleton got together for the royal wedding, a special fragrance was commissioned for the event, and guess what it contained? Oud. Where Tom Ford and Christian Dior lead, others tend to follow, and those others include Chanel, Calvin Klein, Gucci, Giorgio Armani, Yves Saint Laurent, Pierre Cardin and Cerruti. I could go on, as now nearly all the major branded perfume houses use oud. You may even be using it yourself now. Oud is in Dior's Fahrenheit, one of the most popular and best-selling fragrances on the planet. I mentioned some figures a while ago relating to the industry worldwide, and what I probably should have mentioned is that China, the world's most populous nation, is, as yet, a virtually untapped market. One thing's for sure, the market is strong and it's only going to get stronger.
Negotiations are ongoing to blend a special perfume from the oil coming out of the plantations you have just seen, and a major cosmetics firm in Germany has expressed a desire to buy everything that can be produced. It's not difficult to see the trend in terms of demand for the product, with all the major brands fighting hard to secure sustainable, consistent, and high-quality supplies.
More importantly though, there could be an opportunity here that many of us are looking for at this point in our lives and at this point in history. Something clean, green, renewable and sustainable that can only benefit the environment and the communities who live in it. How many investment options these days can possibly give you all that and leave you smelling irresistible?